Whoa, it's wonderful, so magical. Every breath we take. The past is history, the future mystery. This moment is the gift.
Happy New Year! Just kidding. Tony just counted me in, and every time I hear one, it makes me feel like, whoo, Happy New Year, we've made it. And you have truly made it. You are listening to Miracle Makers on UBN Radio TV. I am your host, Dr. Sarah Larsen. We're in season 3 of this incredible show that is designed to help you accomplish all that you're here to accomplish, to turn on your miracle frequency. I'm a medical intuitive, and today we are going to be talking about how ghosting, the energy of what is ghosting. Just so you know, ghosting is when someone exits your life without an explanation or closure. It happens so often in romantic relationships, but it really truly happens in all relationships that are intimate in nature. That ghosting possibility where someone doesn't return your calls or answer, or just literally feels like they disappeared into thin air. They're no longer in the places that you saw them before. Today, my darling miracle makers, we brought in studio one of my favorite people. She is so incredible. She is a millennial, and she really wants to speak to you. Anyone, the millennials, all young people, and all those young at heart, really wanting to make a difference for young people right now, more than ever. The voice of millennials, the voice of Humera or Myra Sheikh is in the house. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here and for letting me be that voice to speak on behalf of so many young people that need to hear this and need to be involved in this community at this time. Very, very fragile and delicate times.
It's very fragile and delicate. When we talk about, how old are you right now?
Right now, I'm 22 years old.
22
years
old.
I am the last year of the millennial generation.
The last year of the millennial
I'm the
generation.
cutoff. Yes.
And why is this so important to you? Because of all of the young people that you're connected with and what you're seeing out in the world. Why was it so important to come on today?
For me, it was important to, first and foremost, be a part of your community of miracle makers, because I needed to put on my own oxygen mask in the midst of everything that was that's happening in the world of this generation, of the millennial generation, and Gen Z, Gen Y,
X,
all of the generations that are are after us, and there is just an epidemic of confusion and trauma and addiction and manifestation in such terrible ways of people that don't know how to live in this socio-political economic climate that is dissipating in front of our eyes. And it's crumbling, and people don't know how to get a grip on it. And so partying is becoming a big way to escape. Drugs are becoming a big way to escape. Relationships and love addictions and things of that nature are becoming a huge, huge problem and a huge crisis. And frankly, there are not a lot of outlets for these type of things to be addressed.
It's such to be addressed. There's so much that has to be addressed right now, and the world that you guys are inheriting, the next generation, doesn't feel safe. It feels like all the structures that once existed, everything that you could count on, is being lost.
Absolutely.
Or no longer trustworthy. And so escape, suicide, and ghosting.
And ghosting.
When someone ghosts, and this is part one of the ghosting show. Today we're speaking to the people that ghost and what happens to you when you ghost. What happens physically to your body when you stop communicating, when you stop being congruent with something that you once considered you really, really loved. It's really an important topic because then you become a ghost in your own life to some degree. When you are ghosting others, when you're no longer communicating with them, when you have cut them off, you affect your thyroid. You affect the fat in your body. You store fat because your own body recognizes that you're creating toxicity out in the world. Your eyes begin being able to see less. Your bones in your ear canals stop being able to hear. And it's not your fault. This ghosting or this need to ghost is not your fault. It's you've not been taught yet how to really, really take care of yourself. That's not something that's been taught in school. And so this show really can begin to help your thyroid. You lose weight or put on weight depending on your metabolism. Your eyes to see better and hearing so that you're able to be congruent. So you're able to bring in what you value most in your life. I love that no one else can do your work for you. No one else can do the growing up for you. Myra, what's been your experience this far? And, one of the things that we talk about in Miracle Makers is your parents' job is to raise you so far. It's your job to raise yourself the rest of the way. Yes. And in ghosting, what's been your experience?
Ghosting, as I've experienced it, is I've been the recipient and I've been the perpetrator of it. And in the past, it's been because I cannot deal with my own emotions, and therefore somebody else's emotions become overwhelming to deal with. And therefore, ghosting occurs. And it becomes like this, it's easier to just disconnect and not have that uncomfortable conversation or not put yourself out there, not have your body say no or yes or whatever the case may be, and instead just completely leave the situation, which is not stepping up into your courage at all. And I believe it does stem from not having that deep conversation with yourself or being unable to look within in that way.
Unable to look within that way. When someone ghosts you, they're not able to look within that way. It's I love sometimes using scripture, Proverbs. Yes. I love using science as well, that there are regions of your brain that selectively choose what you're going to see. If Myra and I went walking down the street together, her as a 23-year-old would be viewing all a totally different scene. She'd have selective attention to what she sees out there. Me as a mom, right, of a 13-year-old and 11-year-old, I'm going to be looking out to make sure Myra is safe. I'm going to be looking to make sure that all the things she's going to be interested in will show up, or my kids will show up, because that's what I value most walking down the street. Myra at 23, beautiful, stunning, maybe noticing all the young men and all the things that millennials would notice, her attention. And then when she looks back at that walk, she's going to retain all the things that she saw on that walk that match her values. Whereas all the things that I see and remember on the walk, it's like, oh, this might be an interesting show for Myra. This might be interesting for my kids. This might be, I will have that retention. And my ability to create a value into her life or into anyone's life is what I retain, what I give my attention to. But most importantly, what my intentions, intentions are. When someone ghosts you, their intention really is to self-protect. If someone is ghosting, which Mira, you just described so beautifully, there's too many emotions. And that really, truly understanding that flooding that happens. Our conscious mind is much like a feminine, a female mother. Our subconscious mind is much like a child. And so when someone ghosts you, their inner child cannot make their mother, the conscious mind, do what it wants to. Everyone wants to be kind and loving and in integrity and grow. But at some point along their journey, they got wounded. And when it takes practice, it takes time, it takes that initial honesty to pick up the phone and be honest with another human being. This is the proverb, Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee when no one is pursuing, but the righteous are bold as lions. And this really speaks to this ghosting phenomena. The ghoster, the person that doesn't return your calls or disappeared off the internet or is no longer unfriended you on Facebook, they have a guilty conscience. And they don't even have words for that guilty conscience. They might have used your influence, your friendships, your whatever it is. They might have wanted something from you and not been able to honestly ask for it. And they might have feelings that they don't know how to explain, and they feel guilty for feeling. It might not even be something really, really bad. They just have unexplained feelings that get connected to that guilty conscience. If you've been the ghoster, you've ghosted someone, there's a part of you that can't find words for what you're feeling. Yeah. And you're shaking your head. This is so, yes.
It is absolutely true. It's something I continue to feel guilty for. And once I recognized that this was something I was doing, and it was at such a deep subconscious level that it's like, I can't deal with my emotions right now. I'm not going to even partake in this situation. I'm going to cut this person off. It's the cutting off that's so easy for people to do.
Yes.
And it's the speaking to and having those conversations and being bold that creates the change, that creates the impact. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person is going to yell at you or the other person is going to have a bad response or reaction. You can actually take that situation and turn it into something different.
Yes.
And transmute it maybe. And that is what I've learned and what as I continue to grow and work on myself and do the inner work. Realize.
Inner work.
Yes,
And Miracle Makers,
damaging.
we've been doing a lot of inner work.
Yes.
What are some of the stories that you can share that you've experienced? Like before you started Miracle Makers Academy, and this week, this Sunday, we're going to be talking about ghosting and the biology and how to heal, whether you've been ghosted or whether you're the ghoster, what the processes are. But you've been part of the Academy for how long now?
I've been a part of the Academy for a year, but I've been working with you for 2 years, and I've been listening to you for even longer than that. And just the guiding light in the darkness of, because darkness is its own source. It's where you feel, it's where you feel the mystery of everything. And then once you feel that, and then you come to the light, you're almost equipped to receive that light. And I felt that was what my process was. Listening to you and then becoming a part of the community. And the inner work has not been the most comfortable. I've had to really, really look at myself in the mirror with my shadows, with my light, with all of the homework that we do. That's only geared to get you to the core, come to the root of the root, like Rumi says, the root of the root of your own soul. And that is, I believe, completely what we are all looking for as young adults, as adults in this journey, is to come back to who we really are. And that is what everything that we do, I believe that centers it. It's like it's taking the darkness that builds up onto your light. It's like your soul is that light, and darkness builds because you live in this world, and you're impacted by the environment. You're impacted by your conditioning, by your parents who don't always understand you and are not always emotionally intelligent enough to be able to see, okay, that my child is in this situation. And then you, as you said, you do have to grow, you have to raise yourself the rest of the way. And that becomes the inner work piece of everything, the unlearning of everything. And that has been, in a nutshell, the process that we do. And we really are rigorous with it. We do not play.
We do not play. We really, really...
We play.
We're passionate.
We have that goal in mind. Yes.
We play from the sense of it's so much fun to be part of it. And it's so much fun to watch everyone grow within the community, which is so beautiful. It's
so beautiful. Like the things that happen for everyone when you're a part of it.
The way that Myra wound up here today is we really want to help the young, those that want to remake our world. She called me up and said, what more can I do? What more can I do? I'm having this experience out of Miracle Makers. And you shared some of the stories. Some of the people are finally getting, one of the Miracle Makers wanted a condo for 20 years. And she started the work this year. And you've watched her.
Yes. So as part of the community, we are a group that has nothing but love, pure love, and compassion for one another, because we are all vibrating at the same frequency. We all ultimately have the same goals in our hearts to serve. And we know that that's what makes us happy and what fulfills us. And when someone from the group, can I mention her name?
Sure.
Mary Beth, when we do a process called dream dialoguing, where you actually feel it in your biology, the way in which you want your, whatever it might be, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan to go about, and you talk with someone who's going to hold space for you, and you and them are conversing in this dialogue back and forth, where you feel and they feel you already being in that situation, in that position. And the power of that is so incredible because it's manifested exactly what some of our group members, and not just one, they're not just one. It's the work that you do. If it's the feeling that you put into it. It's your willingness to change your biology and believe that you can do that.
And people start sleeping and they start being able to really, really embody and become the change they wish to see in the world.
Yes.
So certain speakers that people always wanted to be on stage with,
Yes.
that's coming about, different ways in which they wanted to give back. Right now, we're really passionate about being able to recognize how fortunate we are. If you're listening to this and you make more than $35,000 a year, you are in the global 1%. And when you feel like, wow, really fortunate in your biology creates everything that you experience. The more you are in grateful attitude and gratitude, grateful attitude
of gratitude.
The attitude of gratitude, the more you're in that space. And the more you are able to attract to you what you appreciates what you are really taking a look at. And so you learn to accept everything in your life as it is. And we're going back to the topic of ghosting right here. Again, if you can understand that ghosting isn't your fault, if you've ghosted someone, you did it to self-protect, to self-preserve. The first step is really accepting that you did it and you might have caused another person a great deal of pain. Countless hours of energy spent towards you. And this is when the near-death experience, right? I've had multiple near-death experiences at an early age, and there's so much research. When you leave this physical form, you will feel everything that you caused another to feel. The yin-yang symbol is a great example of the balancing of that. So you will feel it in the physical form while you're alive, in your thyroid. You will hold on to your metabolism. The fat retention will be dispersed not in a healthy way. Your eyesight and your hearing, because you're not congruent with the core values of nature. So that number one thing is understanding it's not your fault. Number two thing, understanding you want to make yourself better around this because it affects your body. And in the spiritual world, in the energy world, when you're leaving the physical form, you understand everything. You will feel everything that everyone that belonged to you, that's anyone that made eye contact with you, anyone that you connected with, anyone that you thought about, you will know how they felt. There's more receptors in your body, more neurons than particulate matter in the universe. So all of those senses, all of your energy will be turned on to feel every one of those connections to come back into balance. So anyone that's ever lied to you, you will know the truth and you will know why they lied. You'll know exactly what others felt. And so one of the things as a ghoster or as a ghostee is to fully understand you will know why. You'll understand what the other person felt. You will know what happened. And what comes up for you around that?
Realizing that all of those things that you us on this physical plane think that are not going to affect us later. But realizing that each interaction had that effect and we're going to face that makes I think should make everybody want to be a lot more conscious in the way that they communicate and the way that they think twice about ghosting or being, or even the way they respond to someone who ghosted them, maybe to enlighten that person as well.
And that forgiveness
And
work.
Yes.
Yeah, it all involves really being able to let go.
Yeah.
The reason that your hearing hardens or the hammer within your within the ear canal hardens is because you, as the ghoster, became hard towards someone else. So an aspect of your body demonstrates what happened out there in the world. Everything is an inside job, and it's okay if you don't know how to say it. And we're going to talk about that within the Academy, and more to the point when people call in. The next few series of calls, whoever has been ghosted, or if you've been at that point, or if you're having struggles with your thyroid, having weight issues, struggle with eyesight or hearing, this is part of the reason. And it's very subtle energy. Energy is never created nor destroyed. It's just more organized. So electricity always existed, but it was Thomas Edison found a way to bring it into light bulbs. Ben Franklin found a way to notice it on the end of a keychain flying a kite. Well, that energy, always present, just got more organized for us to be able to use it. The same thing happens when you start and pick up the phone or write a little email that says, "I'm sorry, I did ghost you.
Sure.
I ghosted you. Please forgive me. I don't know if I can yet talk to you, but I want to clean this up for myself. Just so you know, my hearing's been affected, or my eyesight, or my thyroid." And the bottom core reason that people ghost is they can't be honest. And they can't be honest either because they don't know what their feelings are. You caused them to feel something that they can't identify, and they don't have the language for it, or they weren't honest in their intention of being your friend. And cleaning that up, when you pick up the phone and say, "Really, I just wanted to be your friend because I noticed you had 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I thought I could associate myself with you and it would help my brand," right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's, if you say that,
And to make it lighthearted. Instead of making it something so serious all the time. To be playful about it, even though you messed up, even though you made a mistake, even if you're the ghoster. And as the ghoster, you do have to realize, as you said, as you mentioned in the most beautiful biological way, how it affects you. You are foregoing a part of yourself because you're not being honest with yourself. You're not being honest with another. And that's not something that's going to be let go until you resolve it for yourself.
The ideal way you can feel in friendship is network. A net that works, a net that pulls you up, a net that you can use to pull others up, and it's an open net. It's not a closed net. Open means you can talk about ideas. You can talk about what's happening between you guys. You can become the source of healing something between you and another. I'm so grateful that I can say this. I've often healed things going on between my parents and my siblings. I know that's something that we have to bridge a lot, being in the Persian, Asian, Indian culture.
The Eastern, South Asian,
right,
Middle Eastern, all that.
All of that. We have
similar
to explain our siblings' actions to our parents. And in the next minute, we're going to start taking calls.
Absolutely.
Myra, I'm so glad you're here. We're talking about ghosting on Miracle Makers on UBN Network. Ghosting is when a beloved stops being your friend, returning your calls, interacting with you. The beloved could have been an intimate relationship, or it could be a best friend that just stops communicating. If you are the person that does that, your body, you are no longer congruent. And if someone passed away, you can still do the work with them, because near-death experiences, the soul never goes away. The soul has a body. Your energy, who you actually truly are at the core, goes on and just learns and chooses more ways to be organized in the future, in the next form of world that you experience. Myra, anything you want to share before we start taking calls?
Just that this is an important topic. This is such an important topic for us millennials, for everybody, just to know that it's not ghosting being a ghostee is a very sad place to be. It's a confusing place to be. There are no answers a lot of times. And being a ghoster, and I think shedding light on what it means for your body, will really make people reevaluate the way that they communicate and give them that boldness and that courage, because it's damaging. It's damaging to both parties. And I truly believe shedding light on it is an important thing in our day and age of social media, of such a revolutionary way of communicating, because I don't think ghosting would have been a thing if social media didn't exist, or if our communication skills were so completely evolving this rapidly and we can't keep up with it, right?
Ghosting is such an important topic as we grow further in connecting with the world. Tony, how are we doing with calls? And we can start taking calls, and it's important the callers stay on afterwards. They just be put back into the queue so they're not lost. Welcome, caller. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen and Myra. Hello. Can you hear us? Say hello again. Welcome, caller. 424. We'll go to the next one. Awesome. Welcome, caller. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen. And we've got it overhead, right? Not in the, okay, yes. Welcome, caller. Hi.
Hi, Dr. Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm so glad you're calling. What's your name?
Thanks. It's Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Oh, I'm so glad you called in. It's Amanda Smith. She's a miracle maker.
Wonderful.
Oh, it's not. It's a different Amanda.
Oh, we're sorry.
We love you anyway,
anyways.
Amanda. Right.
We're here for you.
We are. What can we answer for you, Amanda?
I was just blown away because I just left a yoga class, and I was texting with a friend earlier, and we text like not regularly, and they generally tend to like just disappear. And I find myself like questioning why are my answers not being responded to? And it never came to my mind before to call him a ghoster, but I'm like, he's ghosting me. And like, not more than like a minute later, I opened my email inbox and I saw your email, and it was like ghosting. And I'm like, what in the world? And I'm like, I have to call about this. This is just too serendipitous. So I wanted to touch base with that, but I agree with everything you're saying. And I guess my question would just be how to have an open heart when stuff like this happens, because it is painful. And I think when I first called in, you were talking about like parents, and there's so much like ingrained in us, and so much pain and trauma. And I am just really working on having an open heart, but it's been really challenging for me because of things like this and people just not communicating, not responding, and I take it personal.
It's so, thank you so much
It's a beautiful question.
Yeah, beautiful question. And it's so important to fully understand source or something greater than us is in charge. Yes. God, the universe, oneness, this one breath that we share. We're not just a drop of the ocean, we're the whole ocean. So everything is happening through us. But we as a whole have been taught to take things very, very personally. And as someone, I've been ghosted, which always, it's like, how can someone, because I'm such a giver, and I give with such reverence for the other person. But God does that as protection as well. Yeah. Source protects us, especially when we give to those that are truly using us for something that may not serve the greatest good that coming through us. I'm going to say that another way. Amanda, you are such a giver. You love and you're in integrity. And sometimes, Source, God is protecting you by having you be ghosted.
Mm.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, it feels right.
And
definitely.
Men and women. So the female is the one that receives. Men are the ones, and we carry both our mothers and fathers' genetics. We have in our DNA the imprint of the way they gave and they received. And we become the bridge between those two as well. And there's all of this research that shows the first set of relationships we get into is really about making sense of our home life when we were kids. So if it was a turbulent relationship, it was loud, a lot of energy back and forth, and violence or yelling or communication, our first relationship will mimic that because we're working it out through our DNA, that how could a loving universe, a oneness world, have given us this upbringing? And so the first level of people that are drawn to us, or that we're drawn to or attracted to, the heart signal is sending out this signal to help you heal so you can really get into the flow of oneness, nature, goodness, the best parts of you being reflected out. And so not taking anything personally is so important. And whenever I take things personally, I really say to myself, who would I be without this thought? How would I show up at this meeting? How would, if I didn't, like if someone looks at you funny or doesn't, and you're like, oh my gosh, they just looked at me. I wonder, is it my clothing? Is it did I not return a call? And then you take a deep breath. You're like, oh my gosh, how would I show up without that thought? And you really show up. And a great saying is, you can't step into the same river twice. You can't step into the same river twice. And if you're really in the current moment and you begin doing your own work and you think about the person that ghosted you, and so you're about to start a conversation with a new friend and you're like, oh my gosh, that person ghosted me. I wonder if they're friends with this person. I wonder if, and you're like, oh, shut those thoughts down. Who would I be without this thought? And then you're fully present in the moment, listening to this person here. If someone ghosted you in the past and you run into them in a public space, you take a deep breath and you just are you. Who would I be without the thought? And you wait for the opportunity to really have
Show
your
up in a different way too.
Right, have your input. But first you listen.
Yeah.
it's not personal to you. They're doing it to everyone. And God put you in the same, or the universe or flow put you in the same place again. And so for you to deeply listen for what they want and really just not stepping into that same river twice, not being stuck. And Myra, I'd love for you to share.
I think, first of all, Amanda, that nothing is a coincidence and that you called at the perfect time, because this was the topic of discussion of ghosting. And I think that ghosting, like very similar to what Dr. Sarah said about it being less about you and for you not to take it personally, because it does speak more to the person who is the ghoster, because if they don't have the emotional capacity to tell you that, hey, maybe I'm not in the right state of mind or in the right mind space to be able to communicate with you at that time, if they don't have that kind of courage, then do they really deserve to be in your life? Is faith, is God, is Source showing you something that maybe you don't see in this exact moment? And then it just brought me to this proverb, I guess you could say, that I always think about whenever I'm in a situation that I don't fully understand what is happening here. And it follows: know that what has passed you by was not going to befall you, and that what has befallen you was not going to pass you by. So that speaks to just having faith that maybe it was in your best interest to have this person act in this way, unless they can come around, unless you can in the future have that type of conversation and it turn into something else and there is that communication. But for somebody who does ghost, I do believe that is something they need to seriously work on, and almost tipping to a character defects a little bit of something really seriously they need to work on. And you seem like such a beautiful girl who's willing to give so much, and you do come from a place of dealing with a lot of like parental conditioning, and I understand that and empathize with that 110%. And it's hard when you kind of feel like from all different directions you're getting this sense of just pressure and not being understood and growing up and feeling alone, and then finding somebody who feels like, hey, they can help me and we can be in alignment with each other, and then that doesn't work out and they decide to ghost. It's painful. It is painful. But then to really, really change your perception about it and think about it in without our lens, because sometimes it's limiting, but to think about it in the way that, what would God want for us? Like, what would faith want for us?
Source. And this other part that is so important is completion for yourself. Write out a note or write out, this exercise is so beautiful. You write A for Amanda and the letter for their name. And so Amanda says, why did you do this? And you sit and you take deep breaths. Then you write the letter for their name and you let Source, the flow of the universe, your relaxed mind, start answering their questions, the questions that you have unanswered. And every time it comes up in your mind, you do this for a little while so that there is a process in place. Do talk about it with others that can give you insight into yourself, meaning someone that is resourceful in helping you understand what this means for you and what's possible for you through it.
And also, Dr. Sarah, you did help me when you said, don't always confide in and talk to people that might bring you down or might put their baggage onto you. Somebody who's capable of uplifting you from that situation and giving you a different perspective that you wouldn't have seen is is really important, because people can easily sink down to where you are, and then both of you go lower, and it's happened. And once I realized that, hey, I don't have to talk to everyone about this. I can be uplifted by a very few group of people that know how to do this and are qualified.
That's
for that.
what we're doing in Miracle Makers.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
$10 a month. You get a call with an expert. Last week we had Dr. Marga. She's going to be coming in on Miracle Makers at UBN Network as well, and but really important for you to get is find a group of people that are really into taking care of you, the planet, themselves, remaking it so that the world out here is really changed by how we're seeing it on the inside. You've got a miracle frequency, Amanda. And so I look forward to you, checking us out there as well. I think we can take the next caller.
Yes. Thank
Tony,
you, Amanda.
Thank you so
Beautiful
much.
Beautiful question. Shed a lot of light.
Welcome, caller. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen. Who are we speaking with? It's a 503 number. 503. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. What's your name?
This is Kim.
Hi.
Kim.
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
Fantastic. What can we answer for you?
So it's funny, you're talking about ghosting, and I'm sitting here listening, and I'm like, is it possible to ghost yourself?
Yes.
Good question. Good question.
That's a great question. Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I feel like lately it's like I have all these things I want to do, and then after work, when I get home, I don't feel like doing anything, and so I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm stuck in this pattern of like a mouse, the mouse running on the wheel.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like, and I'm listening to your talking, and I'm like, am I ghosting myself?
And your inner child and your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is like the mother. The inner child is like the subconscious. The inner child, the subconscious doesn't want to do it. It won't get done. So your conscious mind can choose one thing, and your subconscious mind, the inner child, is like, nope, you haven't been taking care of me. I'm ghosting you. I'm not going to give you any power or attention. And you're dividing yourself in those regions. And when you look at the work of any of the psychologists and psychiatrists on the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, it's like at the maximum degree, it's like an iceberg. Only 10% of you is your conscious mind. It's a beautiful 90% is your subconscious mind that's running the show.
Driving the car.
It's driving the car,
Unless
the subconscious mind,
mind.
your parasympathetic nervous system, that conscious and subconscious mind. What the subconscious wants to happen is what actually happens. So your subconscious says, I will keep agreements with other people. So if I tell that person I'm going to be on time, I'm always on time. But for yourself, you're like, I'm going to get this done by such and such date. Your inner child, your subconscious mind doesn't feel like it's been taken care of. So it says, nope, to me, you haven't taken care of me. I'm going to ghost you in your conscious desire for this thing until you give me attention and give me the love and healing and the voice that's authentic to both of us. Yeah. What comes up for you, Kim, with that?
Well, yeah, because it's like I have all these things I want to do. I'm studying animal communication. I'm doing some other healing work, and eventually want to run a healing practice. And I'm just, like, there's just nothing, like, I have nothing. Like, I feel like I'm just, I don't know if I feel stuck or I'm just, like, bleh. I
Your body's communicating with me, and I feel it in the back of your shoulders and down your back. And what's interesting is you've got so much you want to do. There's so much you want to give. And whenever someone else talks to you, you're like, yes, yes, I want that too. I want to do that too. So the first thing that I want you to do is for each year that you've been alive, I want you to give to that child that's within you. I'm going to say that another way. So for the next, and right now, and we talk about this in the Academy, we've got Ruth V. Miller, who's an incredible animal communicator. Yeah. She's part of the Academy. She co-teaches, and we've got at least 2 classes in there in the Academy that you can download and listen to at home about animal communication. But this is the part that's important for you, Kim, is for you to listen to what you wanted as a baby and give yourself that for a day, what you would have wanted at 1 year old, and give that to yourself for a day, what you want as a 2-year-old. And to really, it could be the silliest thing, but you're listening with your active imagination to what the baby would want, what the 1-year-old wants, what the 2-year-old wants, what the 3-year-old wants. And as you're going through this work, great insight will come into you of things that you're not giving yourself on a regular basis. And this is the other thing, is looking in the mirror and choosing exactly where you are right now, as if Source, the universe, God designed it for you. That's absolute faith. There's nowhere else, no other way that you could be at this moment. It's on purpose. What comes up for you around that?
Well, it kind of started to get a little emotional because, I think about, what would I have wanted at 1? And I do think that a lot of those years are blocked out because I do think that, there was fighting and yelling and screaming and in the house. And so that makes complete sense.
Yes.
Like I didn't get some kind of nurturing perhaps, and now
you can.
I think I'm searching for that.
You can give it to yourself. And for some for some ages, it might be 3 days at the age of 13. You're like, wow, I need to be 13 for another day.
Yeah.
And so you can be 13 for 3 or 4 days and then go into 14 and 15. But really giving to yourself and really nurturing and loving and hugging and seeing yourself. Then your subconscious mind will know, wow, this girl is going to take care of me. It's not just out there that she keeps her promises. It's in here as well.
Yes.
Myra, anything you want to share?
And then we were not chosen into our families and our dynamics. We didn't choose it. Our parents did not choose it. But we have the option to choose our own family. And once you begin the process of raising yourself after your parents have raised you to a certain limit, then you get to choose your own family. And I think that's so beautiful, and that helps so much in the unlearning and deconditioning of the trauma and breaking it down and understanding so deeply on the deepest level where it came from, and then transforming it into light.
Kim, thank you so much for your call. That was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and much love to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Take care.
Thank you. We'll take the next caller. We've got the 323 number come back in, or the 4.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Who are we speaking with?
This topic is so great. My name is Laura.
Hi, Laura.
And hi, I'm really working on my communication effectiveness, and so this is perfect timing. And I feel like people I don't know, they're easy to talk to me, but my closest relationships, my mom, my dad, my daughter, my best friends, they are not completely sharing everything with me. They like hold back. I don't know what's going on, what they think about what I said. So that's what I'm looking at to transform.
It's so beautiful that you love them so deeply that you give them everything that you're thinking about and that you're feeling. And Laura, this is what Source or God is showing me, is they're not as deep as you are. So you look at an orange and you see the white, the rind, the layers, the juiciness, the seeds. You see so many things. And they see an orange and they think orange juice. And it's so important that you go to a well that can nurture you in that richness and the deepness. And as you're getting and you're sharing and expressing, and I love sharing this, I say this often, you know, a chicken gets to be a chicken, a dog gets to be a dog, a cat gets to be a cat. Your mom gets to be herself. You don't expect a chicken to be any different. You don't expect a dog to be any different. But I used to expect Greg, my husband, to be different. I'd be like, if only Greg would do this, if only he was this way, then we could be happy. And I'm like, a chicken's a chicken, a dog's a dog, a cat's a cat. Greg is Greg. And so I change. And I'm willing to share. And in our marriage, when we first started, 2003 we met, 2004 we got married. I was really deep. And I taught classes all over, and people would come to the classes and they would say, gosh, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, but every time after I see you in class, I feel better. My body's healthier. I'm making more money and my relationship works. So I have no idea what you're talking about, but I listen and I do the exercises in class and my life gets better. And so that's you. People have no idea what you're talking about. But because they interact with you, their life gets better. And for you just to be okay with that and to go get the deepness and the wellness from a community that speaks the nuances of that is important for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a researcher named Dr. Paul MacLean who did research in the brain, and he found these lobes called angel lobes. People that were at service or meditated were able to see energy and communicate with higher regions of their brain. So Laura, you've got higher regions of brain activated. And he was a Yale researcher, started in the 1950s. There's now so much more research around the angel lobes in these regions. But to really understand, really listen deeply for what your family's sharing and love them for it. Make it easier and easier by just saying, thank you. I love what you shared. I love how you see it.
Yeah.
Yes. And when they're asking you questions, speak in a manner that they can understand or just help them feel better. Myra, anything you'd add to that?
A teaching from you, actually. What their value system is, you expand and you share according to their value system because you can't change who they are. And
Yeah.
I really, really do believe that once you start communicating in that way, it becomes a little bit more effective.
So this is a story that I share is like I wanted to buy Jazzy a beautiful dress that was hugely expensive. And so I wanted her to do it for her video that she had coming up, and, you know, several $1,000s. And with Greg, I was like, okay. In his value system, he values music. He values something that you can use for a long, long time. He values legacy. If I said, baby, Jazzy's going to look great in this. This is the dress she chose. She's going to feel empowered if she's wearing this dress. That's one way. But in his value system, I said, baby, this dress will be one of those pieces that Jazzy can pass down. Yeah. She will have it forever immortalized in this video.
Her first video.
Her first video
where she's presenting and she's like performing.
Presenting and performing. And within his value system, it made total sense to him. And all of it's true. It's still something that, you know, we have, and it's something, all of his value system highlighted. So every decision or choice made in that. Thank you for being with us, Laura. So share with your family in their value system. What does your dad value, your mom value, your brothers and sisters value? Light them up for valuing that, and it will help them be able to go deeper because you valued what they valued.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mara. We're going to have to bring you back.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's just one more thing I'd like to share with Laura. I actually have a similar ordeal with my own father, who has he has a blockage when it comes to communication, and it's very difficult to communicate with this man. I love him to death, but it's difficult to communicate. So the way that I go about communicating with him is I begin to ask him an advice on something, like, okay, Dad, there's this technical thing, or there's this happening in the world. What do you think about this? And the minute that he starts to share his insight on it, it kind of like, it softens everything. It softens his insides. And then I can go deeper, and then I can talk to him and communicate with him about things that pertain to me. But he has to have, because his value system is intelligence, is let me pass down wisdom to my daughter. Let me be able to be of productivity, right, to her. Let me be productive. And so I really have to bypass that part, and that's the way I learn to communicate with him. And that's based on what Dr. Sarah taught me about value system, about what does he value. And if I go based on my values and I'm like, Dad, this is what I value, respect it, nobody's going anywhere. So I've learned that along the way, based on that teaching. So I do really think it helps.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you
for the question, Laura.
That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miracle Makers, for being with us. We love you. We will see you next week, where we do part 2 of ghosting.
Oh, yes.
Happy 10/11.
It's funny, we're talking about ghosting during October.
Right.
Halloween's coming up. Yeah, let's stop the ghosting before the 31st of October.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The past is history, the future mystery. This moment